Throughout my time as a student, science has always been my favorite subject. I'll never forget my 7th, 8th grade science teacher, Miss White at Turner Drew Language Academy. Her love for science greatly rubbed off on me. These are the only textbooks that I can read simply for enjoyment. My grandmother added to this love by always recording astronomy and science-related television and documentary shows for me. Today I still watch these shows and shows alike. My favorite is hosted by my personal idol, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, called Cosmos. What was your favorite subject as a student?
History.
And how did you feel about science as a student?
Science was not my favorite subject.
All right. According to an article written by CAAM, Time Warner's Philanthropist Group, published December 3rd, 2013, our country currently ranks 29th in scientific literacy. I feel that people should watch Cosmos and more shows like it because it has more valuable information than most things on television, and also because scientific literacy is important in our society. Today I'll be talking about how this show stacks up against most shows on television and why this is important in a democratic society, and also how science can help stimulate an economy. This show airing on Fox is actually one of the best things that's happened to the station in a while. When I first found out that Neil deGrasse was hosting a show about the universe on Fox, I thought, how out of all stations, Fox? I found my answer in an article written by Lindsay Weber, published July 22nd, 2012. In the article, it explains how Seth MacFarlane, the producer of comedy shows on Fox like American Dad and Family Guy and The Cleveland Show, and also producers of comedy movies like Ted, was inspired to become the executive producer of the Cosmos after having lunch with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Him becoming the executive producer enabled the show to be picked up by a station. This is big for Fox when it and stations alike show mostly corporate propagandize and celebrity gossip news, adult cartoons, and reality TV shows. While it is a good incentive to watch this compared to the other shows on TV, you could also contribute to your scientific knowledge, which is important in our political system. As I stated in the earlier speech, the weakness in a democratic or a democracy system is that a voter can be withheld or lack knowledge. In a democracy, all citizens should be able to weigh in on important or contentious scientific and technological policies or proposals. This is a quote by Jeffrey Thomas, president of Kellogg College, Oxford in Britain. In an article written by Janet Roloff, published in February 21st, 2010, it uses an example by Jeffrey Thomas showing how scientific knowledge in our democracy system is important. He says, say if one politician is for stem cell research, another politician is for genetically modified organisms research, and the other is for nuclear reprocessing plants. How will a voter know who they are for if they have no knowledge of any of these topics? And how will we as a society be able to choose where we should put our funding? In this same article, John Miller of Michigan State conducted a poll before the 2003 election. This was when politicians were pushing for stem cell research. In his poll, he asked voters about stem cell research. Of the voters that he asked, 8% collectively were either strongly for or against stem cell research. The other 92% ignored the situation altogether because they felt that the subject was just too complex for them. While it is important for the average person to have scientific knowledge in a democratic society, science can also be seen as equally as important in bringing about innovation and stimulating an economy. See, having a society embrace science is good for business and innovation as well. We live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology when hardly anyone knows anything about science or technology. This is a quote by the late great Carl Sagan, astronomer, who actually happens to be Neil deGrasse's idol and was the host of the first show, Cosmos, that aired in 1980. On March 7, 2012, Dr. Tyson held a meeting with the Senate explaining how science can stimulate our economy and also why NASA should be funded and scientific education should be funded far more than they are today. He says that as a society, we are going broke. We are in great debt and we lack the scientific expertise needed. He says also that jobs are going overseas. He feels, as I feel also, that science plants a seed of economic growth because discovering something new or finding something new or doing something new is intellectually seductive. He says that if we put our time and funding towards science, this culture could be responsible for the spread of economic growth. See, he feels that, or he says in this speech to the Senate that in the past, since we opened our shores to foreigners that came from overseas that were foreign-born intellectuals because we were, as a culture, seen as great. And when it comes to science and technology, we were the first to the moon, and everybody wants to be a part of a great society. He feels that as we are being passed up by these other foreign countries, these intellectuals will stop coming over here as their education in their home countries are becoming more advanced than ours. Also, as their scientific and technological cultures are becoming far more advanced than ours, they will never come over here. And he says this is his greatest fear. Sadly, this is already happening. Do you feel that science is important for our society?
Yeah, most definitely.
And what comes to mind when you think about science?
How everything works in the world. Like, science is everything.
I see it the same way too. Well, to wrap this up, I feel that more people should watch the cosmos and become better or follow science because, well, not because I like Neil deGrasse or because he's my idol or because I favor the subject of science, but because all people should have some knowledge in science. So even if your occupation has nothing to do with science, you should follow modern science. Einstein said science is a wonderful thing, especially if one doesn't have to earn his or her living at it. Thank you.